The lights brightened up the front yard, setting the perfect mood for the evening. Friends and family gathered to celebrate my birthday, and I was thrilled to have pulled off a disco-themed party. The decorations were vibrant, the DJ kept the music lively, and everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves. But beneath my happiness, there was tension. This was my first birthday after a tough first year of marriage, and my husband's disapproval of the celebration was clear. I was determined to enjoy the day, but our earlier argument still echoed in my mind. He had stormed into our closet, demanding I cancel the party. "My friends aren't coming, and I don't want to be surrounded by your family," he said. Frustrated, I reminded him it was my birthday, but he wasn't interested. He wanted to reschedule, claiming he'd feel isolated and uncomfortable. His anger wasn't new to me. Over time, I had noticed his attempts to gaslight, manipulate, and control me, often using money as leverage. He struggled with my achievements, wanting to be the center of attention. His behavior, driven by narcissism, made it difficult for me to celebrate my successes without backlash. He also pressured me to start a family, though I knew we weren't financially ready. His solution was always the same: ask my parents for money. It was a constant source of conflict. He expected me to fulfill his mother's desires, like buying her a new scooter, despite our limited budget. When I refused to involve my parents, he became increasingly frustrated, as if my independence threatened his plans. I can't shake the feeling that there's more to his demands than he lets on. He even threatened me with divorce if I didn't buy his mother that scooter. So I gave in, even though it was the last thing I wanted to do. I felt trapped, with no real choice but to keep the marriage going. We haven't even been married a year, but it already feels suffocating. Near my breaking point, I thought back on everything that had happened earlier and let out a sigh. I just wanted today to be a happy memory. Thankfully, the people who mattered most to me showed up to celebrate, including my college friends. The atmosphere was warm and filled with positive energy, but I couldn't ignore the cold glares from across the room. My husband and mother-in-law weren't hiding their displeasure. Our fight earlier had been awful. He wanted to cancel the party just because his friends couldn't make it. He can't stand the idea of anyone, even me, taking the spotlight. It's baffling how much he seems to resent me. Even when I got a promotion at work, he was bitter because he hadn't been promoted at his job. He blames me for every setback, as if everything is my fault. But today, I refused to let negativity take over. I decided to focus on the guests and enjoy the moment. As I mingled, I found myself talking to Wendy, a friend from college. "Happy birthday, Venice. Thanks for inviting me. It's been ages since we last caught up," she said. "You're welcome. It really has been a long time. 4 years since we graduated with our chemistry degrees," I replied with a smile. We laughed as we reminisced about our college days. Wendy reminded me how I had excelled in organic chemistry, even though I tried to downplay it. "You were one of the top students. It's a shame you didn't pursue a career in chemistry," she said. Her words stung a little, but I just smiled and let the conversation flow. I let out a long sigh, knowing it really was a shame. I used to work in chemistry, but I resigned because my husband didn't want me to continue in that field. Wendy looked surprised. "Really? Why?" "Sorry if I'm being too nosy." "No, it's fine," I reassured her. My job paid well. Too well, in fact. My salary was higher than my husband's, and he couldn't handle that, so I shifted to another career. I could see the frustration in Wendy's eyes. "You know you didn't have to listen to him." "I know, but he's my husband." Wendy didn't push the subject further. Instead, she encouraged me to enjoy the night. So I tried to let go of my worries and focus on the celebration. Later, Wendy returned with a cocktail in hand, looking excited. "I know what you're up to," she said, her voice full of energy. "What do you mean?" I asked, curious. She pointed to the cocktail. "This taste. It's from your thesis, isn't it?" the chemical that slows down how fast alcohol affects you and even blocks any other substances added to the drink. I smiled, impressed that she remembered. She was right. I had added that chemical to the drinks to ensure everyone's safety and help them drink responsibly. Wendy beamed. Of course I remember. You won awards for that study. You were the best in our batch. Hearing that brought back my passion for chemistry. I'd loved working as a chemist at a food company, but my husband made me quit after my promotion. He couldn't stand that I earned more than he did. As I mingled with the guests, I noticed my mother-in-law, Helen, sneaking near the bar with my husband close behind. What are they up to? They didn't see me watching as they poured something into one of the drinks. I decided not to confront them immediately, staying calm instead. Just then, Helen approached me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Happy birthday, dear. I've got a special drink for you," she said in an overly cheerful tone. I took the drink from Helen, keeping my cool even though I was suspicious. Thanks, Helen. You didn't have to." I had seen them tamper with it, so I knew something was off. After a small sip, the bitter taste confirmed my suspicion. It was drugged. Fortunately, I had already added my chemical to the drinks, so I was safe. The idea that they hated me enough to try to drug me on my birthday was shocking. I couldn't believe they'd go this far. I kept my reaction hidden and pretended to be affected, letting my body slump. I don't feel so good," I mumbled, noticing the smug looks on their faces. Monsters, both of them. Guests rushed over, concerned, trying to help me stay upright. They guided me to a nearby couch. "Venice, are you okay?" "What's happening?" someone asked. I faked drowsiness and whispered to Wendy, I think I've been drugged. Call an ambulance." Wendy panicked and quickly asked someone to call for help. Meanwhile, Helen and Richard stood back, watching with cruel satisfaction. I kept up the act, but inside I was already plotting my revenge. My friend, a doctor, was trying to get an ambulance when my husband stepped in. "No need for that. I'll take care of my wife," he said, lifting me up and carrying me into the house. Helen ordered the party to be shut down and told the guests to leave. Once inside, he placed me on the couch, and Helen followed. I overheard their conversation. "Finally, that awful party is over. I was sick of all those people," she said, her irritation clear. I nearly lost it, wanting to throw all the food out. "Mom, what should we do with her?" he asked. "I don't know what she did. Why did you even make me marry her?" "Because she's rich, I told you. Her father's a big shot in biotechnology. We could have had a lot of money from her, but I was wrong. She's useless. I can't stand being outshined. Look at her, she's wealthier than me, and I hate being second. We can't change that. She's your wife now, so get all her cards and withdraw her money by morning. She won't remember a thing." "Are you sure the drug worked, Mom?" "Of course, look at her. She's knocked out. It worked." My husband immediately searched my pockets but found nothing, so he headed to our room to take everything valuable from my bag. My heart raced. They had planned this all along. Monsters. They were only after my money. Since I don't rely on my parents' wealth, they had no luck getting anything from me. That's why they treat me so cruelly. But they'll pay for this. I just need this day to end so I can take my revenge. The next morning, I pretended to wake up groggy and disoriented, acting like I had no memory of what happened. My cards and phone were missing. Stolen. My husband and mother-in-law were in the kitchen, acting as if nothing was wrong. "Oh, you're awake. You took some drugs last night," my husband said with a smirk. "What?" "I did." "No way." I faked shock. He chuckled. "Yeah, you caused a scene and kicked everyone out of the party. I'm sure they all hate you now." "Lies. He can't fool me." "Oh no, I must have lost it. I wonder who drugged me. Maybe the bartenders you hired. You should be more careful next time, if there is a next time," he said, relishing the deceit. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to retaliate. "Oh, honey, have you seen my credit cards?" "I don't know why you'd ask me. You're the one who lost them," I shot back. Just then the doorbell rang. My mother-in-law fetched the food delivery they had ordered, a feast, no doubt using my card. "It's good to be rich, right, son?" she said with a smirk. Richard nodded, clearly enjoying their little victory. "And this is just for us. Get your own food." Furious, I stormed to my room, determined to teach them a lesson. I called Wendy and explained everything. The drugs, my fake reaction, their scheme, and my plan for revenge. Wendy, being a chemist, quickly understood the formula and compounds I needed. I asked her to prepare a special drink that would induce extreme drowsiness. Tonight, I'd invite them to dinner and give them a taste of their own medicine. Wendy promised to deliver the concoction before dinner, setting the stage for my revenge. I walked into the living room and found my husband and mother-in-law indulging in desserts they ordered with my money, glued to the TV. "I want us to have dinner tonight as a family," I said. My mother-in-law rolled her eyes, dismissing me without a word. "Whatever you say," my husband muttered, barely paying attention. They had no idea what was coming. When the delivery arrived, I grabbed the drink and headed straight to the kitchen. They didn't even notice. They were too absorbed in their own world. I prepared the food carefully, making sure everything was perfect for what would be an unforgettable dinner. I poured the special liquid into 2 glasses, knowing that my revenge was just a sip away. I called them to the table. They sat down, looking bored and completely unaware of what was about to happen. "What's all this?" my husband asked, sounding irritated. I forced a smile. "We have some unfinished business." They exchanged uneasy glances, but kept their usual attitudes. The tension was palpable. I picked up a glass, the one spiked with the chemical. "I want you both to try this new juice I made. It's a special recipe." My mother-in-law eyed the glass warily, but my husband, oblivious as ever, took a sip without hesitation. This is actually pretty good. I'm surprised you're capable of anything," he sneered, laughing. My mother-in-law hesitated, but eventually took a sip too. I couldn't help but grin as they unknowingly sealed their fate. As the seconds ticked by, I saw the change in their faces. Fatigue washed over them, and their eyelids grew heavy. My husband was the first to notice. "What's going on? I'm so tired," he muttered, struggling to keep his eyes open. My mother-in-law's head started to droop. What did you do?" she slurred. "Just giving you a taste of your own medicine," I replied calmly. "You tried to drug me and steal my money. Now you know what it feels like." They couldn't fight it. Both of them collapsed onto the table, out cold. I immediately called Wendy, my doctor friend, and then the police. By the time they woke up, they'd be in for a shock. Wendy arrived first, making sure they were safe and that the substance wouldn't cause any lasting harm. Then we took them to the police station, still unconscious. At the front desk, I handed over my chemist's license to the officer. "These 2 tried to drug me and stole my money," I said firmly. "I want to press charges." The officer looked surprised but quickly got to work, calling for backup. "We'll handle it, ma'am. Thank you for coming forward." I watched as Richard and Helen were taken into custody. Their past was finally catching up with them. When they started to come to, they found themselves in separate holding cells, groggy and disoriented, and there I was, waiting for them to wake up. What happened?" my husband asked, his voice shaky and confused. I don't know," his mother stammered, equally disoriented. The police officer and I approached their cells, my expression firm. Their eyes widened when they saw me. "You're in serious trouble," I said coldly. "You've been arrested for drugging and theft." Realizing the gravity of the situation, Richard dropped to his knees, pleading through the bars. "Honey, please forgive me." His mother quickly followed suit. "Venice, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. I promise I'll change." I stood my ground. "This is your chance to reflect on what you've done. You tried to hurt me, but I was smart enough to see through your plan. You both need to learn your lesson." I turned to the officer to confirm that I was pressing charges and filing for divorce. It was time to free myself.